Staying on the trans pattern here, the next one, people are calling for the next James Bond to be transgender. We had a pre-show brief discussion here where I cannot comprehend this request, because as soon as, and this is something me and Matt have been over numerous times with thousands of people on Twitter or Facebook, as soon as they said Idris Elba for James Bond, I was like, yes!
Fucking sold.
He can do it. Have you seen him on The Wire? He's brilliant.
There's that. He's got the Deadeye 1,000-yard stare that you need because of when he was playing Heimdall.
He's got the charm. He's got the voice. He's got the physical presence. He's got the acting chops. I have no problem. And as just a side note of British culture, his race has nothing to do with it, because Britain has a long established presence of black people, African British people, however you want to call it, of black people in their country. So a black man with a British accent is just like, oh, he's British. He's British.
Yeah. He's British.
Who cares? There's nothing that says that the film interpretations of James Bond need to be white. I'm just more accurate. I'd rather not have more Pierce Brosnan.
Right. Or
I don't need silly gadgets where they have automated shotgun turrets in the back of it, and he uses a it was a parachute and a surfboard to surf down a giant ice wave from a diamond laser in the sky. Can we get rid of that and give me? What
movie was that?
That was Tomorrow Never Dies. It exists. It's
or
real.
Die Another Day. I can't remember. It's one of those.
It was Die Another Day, because it had that really, really crappy Madonna. I guess I'll die another day. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Give me good James Bond movies, because what we were telling Mark here, have you seen Casino Royale?
No, I said I watched the old ones. I preferred the old ones, but that's just because I'm a filthy boomer.
Well, there's an interpretation of Bond in there to be found as well, where it was consistent with the time period. It was Bond was big in the 60s and swinging was big in the 60s, so obviously they're going to have him be a little bit of a jet-setting Lothario that's able to talk his way into anybody's pants. I always was a bigger fan of the actual spy novels where they're a spy. And Ian Fleming's Bond, and they even cover this in Casino Royale, they describe him as a blunt instrument, because when you're a 00 agent in the books and you get your license to kill, you're almost above the law, but you're brainwashed to do your missions in the name of England. God save the Queen and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The 00 program was even set up to target like rich kids. And this is something that actually happened in the British Secret Service. They were going after rich kids that had an investment in the survival and the strength of England. So for God, or God, Queen, and country, and all that sort of stuff.
Hardcore nationalists.
Almost so. They would also act apolitically, though. If they were told to go and eliminate this target, they would go and eliminate that target. Any way that got them closer to that goal is what they did. And they had the training, the expertise, and the legal freedoms to do so. And that's what made the book so interesting, was James Bond would, if sleeping with the secretary of the guy with the Moonraker program, another terrible one, they ruined Jaws. Like, how are you going to ruin the best henchman ever? Come on.
Right.
Yeah, he was so cool.
If sleeping with the secretary gets him closer to his goal, then he would do it then. But if eliminating that secretary or giving her like a sleeping pill and hiding her in the back of a car and sending her to another country would also get him closer to his goal, he would do that first. It was the path of least resistance for him. No pun intended when you're talking about James Bond seducing people. What I'm saying is, whichever was the easiest way for him to get in, he would get in and complete his mission. And you got that in Casino Royale. You got that a little bit in the next movie, and then they completely ruined him with a romance plot. I'm sorry. It ruined the character. Even Daniel Craig doesn't want to play it anymore.
In Skyfall?
No, Skyfall was still decent.
Yeah. Yeah, Skyfall was... I like Skyfall.
They expanded the lore between him and M a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you had the next one, and just...
Yeah.
Which was Tomorrow Never Dies.
No. Tomorrow Never Dies was Pierce Brosnan.
Okay, sorry.
Pierce Brosnan was the one that was before Daniel Craig.
Spectre was the next one.
Yeah.
Spectre.
And Spectre is just where they went back to everything. They tried to make another serious movie, but they like just the plane chase sequence in Spectre was stupid, and it harkened back. I'm like, this is the Pierce Brosnan Bond crap again. I think they literally, as soon as the wings broke off the plane, they started And I'm like, no, you did it again. You ruined him. He's not a spy anymore. He's a cartoon character. So James Bond is, and I'm even happy that in the lore, this is for people listening, they expanded James Bond to be the alias. It's an identity. The person's name is not James Bond. That's the identity that they've accepted.
Yeah.
But one thing that's established, no, they wrote it into the movies. So now the movie universe, you have to treat the movie universe as its own ship in a bottle. You know, they've constructed a different ship in a different bottle. We're gonna have to deal with that. But I like that's a really cool interpretation because it explains why we've had all the different James Bonds in the movies. Right. And it even gives us the freedom to swap. What if Daniel Craig dies on a mission or something like that? How do they get another James Bond? Will England fail tomorrow? Like, no, we can make another one.
We already have this this already constructed identity that we literally just erase the person and then give them this identity, and then they become James Bond. Right. There's a brilliant utilitarianism in that. Yeah. That fits with what his character does and how it was in the book. And I'm like, that's a really cool expansion. If Ian Fleming had a chance to sign off on that, I would have hoped that he did. So in the meat of the article here, people are calling for the next James Bond to be transgender. There's been a lot of speculation as to who will step up as Bond. Since it was announced Daniel Craig's time as the much-loved British spy will be coming to you mean he said he wasn't re-signing after this next film, which is set to be released in 2020. Luther star Idris Elba has been a favorite for many, while others have called for Michael Fassbender or Tom Hiddleston. Michael Fassbender would also be pretty good at this, too. I'm not okay with Tom Hiddleston. He doesn't have the physical presence for me, but Michael Fassbender looks like he can throw a clean punch. Right. There were suggestions for a female Bond, and the latest request sees people hoping for a transgender 007. And we talked about this in the pre-show as well. I'm going to argue against a female Bond, not because I'm a sexist prig, but it doesn't fit with the character. Look at the photo directly below that. That is a man who is coming to kick your ass. Right. Whether he's a good actor, just the you don't get to see his eyes. Employee intensifies. You literally get to see that if you knock the gun out of his hand, he could still clobber the hell out of you too. Yeah. Hulk smash. There's been other movies where they try to do this female super secret agent, whether she's super intelligent or a hacker as well. I mean, we're going to go after ScarJo a little bit because there's 2 versions of that. Well, 3 technically because of Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell works because she's a robot. It explains all the super strength and all that. Right, exactly, yeah. Black Widow makes sense because her whole kit, if you will, as a superhero, if she was a champion in a game you could select, it's her agility and her martial arts training as well as some of the gadgets she carries. Yeah, like but she literally has skill. It's not like physical strength. Right, she has to completely outperform her I don't want to say her male assailants or anything like that. She's got to do a lot of flips. She's got to use a lot of like wire gadgets to tie them to the wall and electrical things that she shoots out of her little gauntlets to stun them and things. James Bond has some of those tricks, but there's always the fact that at the end he could slug it out with the bad guy as well. Yeah. There's what did we say? Like comparing it to Obi-Wan Kenobi almost. It wasn't, you don't have to worry about Obi-Wan Kenobi overpowering you with his pure martial skill. It's the fact that you could beat the crap out of the guy and he's still probably going to get back up, wipe the blood off of his chin and go, let's go another round. The Rocky effect. Yeah, Rocky Balboa. Yeah, they can take a beating. This is a guy, when 007, in order to do his job properly in the books and these new films, has to be somebody that can fall 15 feet off of a ledge onto solid concrete, and you believe they could get back up. Even though in the real world, we know that person be, oh, God. Where's that clip from the woman doing the grape smashing contest? Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. Like, that's how we know that you would act in real life. But these action heroes, we have to have some plausible deniability that they could take these hits and bounce back from them. You can't. Yeah, I mean, if you have good pain tolerance, I guess you could. You're just like, oh, I don't know. Could you create a short list of female candidates for the movie that you could believe could do that? And then they also have to be a decent actor, too. I'm thinking. There. I'm sure. When I say I'm sure, there's out there. There's like Ronda Rousey has been talked about doing movies and stuff. Yeah, like I was just about to say. Like, I don't know. Is she an actress? Like, she's amazing.
I love watching her like do her MMA.
There was also the former MMA star that they got in the third Expendables movie. I think she might be able to pull off that physicality.
The chick from Deadpool.
Is that the chick? No. That's a different one. So yeah, we're creating a short list here. We don't know their names because we are sexist prigs, but we're showing we have the clarity of thought to demonstrate there are some women that could pull it up. But now, can they also pull off? Just look at his face in that picture and tell me that you get the same sensation, the same threat level from a chick doing the exact same thing.
No.
Not
James,
really.
he has to be able to charm his way into situations that he's not supposed to charm in, but you also have to believe that when it comes down to it, he could physically beat his way into situations that he shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
He could slug his way through.
I urge anybody to rewatch the full introduction for Casino Royale, which is the hardcore parkour chase through
South Africa.
Yeah, was it South Africa?
I think it was South Africa.
It could be.
It was Zimbabwe or something like that.
It was through an African town. It was a port city. I thought it was actually like Somalia or something, but I don't know. I don't remember it clearly. But the chase scene, he's doing all this physicality. He's taking hits along the way. He's taking hard hits. He's taking falls. And then at the end, you have a confrontation where his target is clearly protected because he's in a foreign country's embassy. He's already broken a crap ton of laws. He's going to burn. So he decides to still kill the target anyway. In fact, he kills the target, he kills the diplomat that was protecting him, and then blows up the complex.
Oof.
Yeah.
How dare you get between me and my target was basically the message that he evoked right there. Not only that, but how dare you capture me? I will not be captured. I'm not going to suicide pill either, but I'm going to run like hightail it. I'm going to get out of here. You need to be able to do that as Bond. And I don't think a female James Bond would do that. My counter argument to this is for a transgender James Bond, again, blending in / being able to infiltrate your way into these situations is key to the character, to be a spy. You don't want to stand out. You would need somebody that's so trans, I'm sure they would actually say that they're not trans enough.
Blair White.
No. What? Look, I'm going to say it here on public record. She's passable.
Oh yeah.
I've met her in person.
Yeah, she's passable. That's what I was saying. Blair White, get her.
But then that's not trans enough for people. That's going to be claiming. That's what they're going to claim.
They're going to.
Well, and if you pick somebody that's just transitioning, well, you're just trying to make them look ugly. Like, you're not going to be able to please with this. So you have to stick to your guns and say it doesn't fit the character that we portrayed in the movie, the most recent movies, and that we're interpreting from the books. It just doesn't.
Tell them they're goddamn communists and get the hell out. Read.
I want to read this section here. So it says NME report the affair star Dominic West put forward the suggestion when speaking with the Sunday Times, where he proposed Hannah Graf, the highest-ranking transgender soldier in the British Army, for the role. West met Graf when he starred alongside her husband Jake, who is a transgender man, in the film Colette. Maybe a transgender Bond would be cool. Yes, there's a very cool woman who's the wife of an actor in Colette, who's a captain in the Electrical Engineers, the highest-ranking transgender soldier in the Army. She's done 2 tours of Afghanistan. She's a beautiful girl who could be Bond. That's actually a brilliant idea. They should have a transgender Bond because there are a lot of transgender people in the Army.
There are?
That's
I'm not going to say that there's not. I'm just going to say, if we have to ask that question, or if we have to make that statement, it's not well known enough.
I was going to say, because transgender is like, 1% of the population, and now you're telling me that entire, or at least half of that 1% are in the Army? It's like, excuse me?
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like that's their justification for this.
Right. And they said Dominic West, which everybody else was pointing out Dominic West. If you don't know who Dominic West is, I'm sure you can Google search it. But he's the creepy Spartan from the 300 movie.
Oh, that dude.
The guy that had the pseudo-rape scene, which was basically rape.
Pseudo-rape.
He loses his eye.
No, I'm not going to. That's how Hack Snyder actually portrayed it, but it was rape. It was basically rape. No, not that loses his eye. What are you talking about?
I don't.
Dominic West is this will not be over quickly. You will not enjoy this guy.
Okay.
He's been in a lot of other movies. He was
It's
also
been a while since
he was also the bad villain, the really cheesy, over the top villain from Punisher Warzone.
Oh, I
so they were also picking him as a possible candidate because I believe he also has they're really trying to get this home that they want somebody of a different ethnic background. That's fine. Can we compromise and still pick somebody who's really capable of portraying this character?
Yeah.
Which is why when they said
James
Idris Elba,
Bond,
Idris Elba, boom,
yeah,
sold.
perfect.
You got me.
You got me. Yeah.
I already love that actor, and he's already done similar roles. Let's do this. Sign. Yeah. Michael Fassbender. Okay, well, if your goal is some
Tower.
What's that?
I was disappointed when I saw Idris Elba in Dark Tower.
Listen, I actually watched that movie just to see what it was about because I never even read the books, and he wasn't the worst part of that movie.
No, he wasn't. I'm saying that the problem is that, though, with the books, if you had, like me, then you know that it really doesn't make sense because the whole point is that, like, the race does play a role, and the character is basically supposed to be Clint Eastwood.
It doesn't when you cut the whole subplot about the racism out, which is what they did to fix it.
That was terrible.
But in terms of his other acting roles, like just again,
I loved him in Pacific Rim. He was amazing.
Listen, if you want to talk about James Bond, you have to watch him on The Wire. Not only can imagine, like, I don't think Daniel Craig could do a perfect American accent to save his life. Idris Elba can.
Right.
Idris Elba, he was on The Office. That was the first place I saw him. I hadn't watched The Wire yet or anything else he was in. I didn't realize he was full on British, like British.
That's like people with a house. People not knowing that.
There's some cute.
I could tell he was actually off. One, because I remember him from the what was the mouse movies that they had? Stuart Little.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't have his accent worked out during that time. The guy that plays Martian Manhunter on Supergirl is also a British actor. So imagine an actor who's capable of this espionage that could also, a British agent that could slip on an American accent whenever they need to. You just had a whole ability to write in a whole new story arc for him inside the same movie. That he could, if he's going to infiltrate the CIA or something like that, you can play around with these actors' skills.
Who was
they have military training. Well, how about voice acting training? Because Idris Elba can literally impersonate an American, and I wouldn't know the difference.
Oh, who's the guy that played Leon the Professional?
He's too old.
Yeah,
he's
so good.
This is like when they said Dominic West too. My first reaction was he's 49, and Daniel Craig is even getting up there a little bit. Idris Elba, I think, is still in his mid 40s. This is the other thing. He has to. James Bond has to be old enough that you could believe he was trained. Sean Connery got the role when he was in his late 30s. So
Sean Connery. I don't know.
To address chat, there's plenty of reasons like this as they portrayed in this new cinematic universe with the reboot and everything. MI6 and the CIA are not on the best terms, basically. They're allies, but they still do their spying separately. So there's completely reasonable situations you could write into existence where a British MI6 agent might have to elicit information from the CIA, and being able to call up and impersonate a fellow agent or another CIA agent by imitating his voice. Come on. That's so inside the realms of possibility.
Goldfinger wasn't Bond working against the CIA there too? If I remember correctly?
No. The CIA wasn't helping him. Or no, in Goldfinger they were. Listen, Felix during the 60s movies, you got to keep in mind that Felix Leiter was basically an international cooperation meme. Okay. Because the CIA and the MI6 were both on the same team basically. And Felix Leiter is the British person's dream for a friendly agent. Like they wrote him as a caricature of how Americans should be acting to British superiority. Then when you get into the Pierce Brosnan, or Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan years, you get to see that they're splitting up a little bit from the CIA more and more as the UK joins into the European Union and America's doing its own thing and everything. So in this current movie narrative where the CIA and the MI6 are not best buddies, works perfectly for me.
Yeah.
In fact, they introduced a good Felix Leiter, and let's play it out this way. I believe the actor they introduced is partially Puerto Rican or Cuban descent. So the fact that now you have two minority agents working together is another big plus. Now they have something they could be able to bond. I'm sure if we all saw it that way, we'd be like, "Oh, social justice. Oh, the minorities." That's just like that would actually make sense though if you think about it. Like they feel
I have a problem with Cubans.
They'd feel a bond over what they've gone through a little bit. There's room for play there with
as soon as
you try to change not only the gender but how this agent has to operate top to bottom, you're going to lose every fan of this, including myself, because James Bond was James Bond.